Hello, my snacks. Welcome back. We begin with something that might open some debate. I'm 27 female. My boyfriend, 31, of 2 years, told me he would always want a paternity test for any kids he has because, as a man, you can never know. My boyfriend and I were making dinner and chatting about our days, and I told him about some drama in my life and how one of my coworkers is questioning the paternity of his adult daughter. That's when my boyfriend told me that no matter the scenario, he would always want a paternity test for any kids he has. He said we could be locked away in an isolated cabin for the entirety of a pregnancy and he would still want a test. Just to be sure. He said he would do all the legwork of scheduling the test, showing up to it, and paying for it. His reasoning for wanting this is that, as a man, you can never truly 100% know if a kid is yours without the test, so he would want it just in case. He also mentioned hearing too many horror stories about men raising children that weren't theirs. He wanted to let me know all of this now, before we were thinking about having kids, because asking for one after I was pregnant or while we were trying would be offensive. In the moment, I felt kinda disgusted at the request, but thought bringing it up now was a lot better than bringing it up later. I also am a woman, so I will know 100% that any kids I have will be mine. Therefore, I hid my disgust and told him that it would be fine. But the more I thought about it, the more I hated it. Asking for a paternity test in pretty much any scenario is an accusation of cheating. It's saying you don't trust your partner enough to not cheat, and you don't trust your partner enough not to trick you into raising a child that's not yours. Bringing it up before thinking about having kids is better than bringing it up afterwards, but it still seems like a red flag. Try as I might, I can't stop myself from feeling hurt by this. I have no intention of ever cheating on my boyfriend, so I can only really see it as an inability of trust. So now I am here, asking for perspective. Is this a reasonable request from him? Is the perception of this situation from a man's view something I just can't see? Any thoughts would be appreciated. So this gets many to see that this guy just doesn't seem to trust you no matter what. If anything, this is becoming a bigger concern because how far down this masculinity or toxic masculinity stuff rabbit hole is this man digging down into? And I think it's fair that, as they're also saying, you should probably declare to him how you feel about this. If there's one thing that's an absolute killer of relationships, it's letting these sort of subtle things just stay down, simmering, slowly boiling away the happiness in your relationship instead of actually nipping them in the bud the moment they come up. But this is an issue where I personally believe men and women actually understand each other a lot more than they realize. So we got this comment here. I don't think most women are really capable of understanding what it's like to not be 100% certain whether your child is yours or not. Even if you trust your partner, even if you're sure she'd never cheat on you, it can bother you that you still have to take it on faith because without getting a test done, you don't actually know. It's not an issue of trust, it's an issue of risk tolerance. To which the response to that is, no, it is about trust, it's not about risk tolerance. But then to counter that with, no, you. How many of the millions of people who get cheated on every year do you think trusted their partner? Trusting your partner doesn't mean they won't betray you, and wanting to remove the uncertainty in whether your kids are yours doesn't mean you don't trust your partner. But let me know what you think when I spin some words around as I reread this comment. I'm just throwing a perspective at the wall. I don't think most men are really capable of understanding what it's like to not be 100% certain whether your partner is going to be abusive or not. Even if you trust your partner, even if you're sure he'd never attack you, it can bother you that you still have to take it on faith because statistically, the closer you are to your partner, the higher likelihood that they end up being someone abusive. Being suspicious that all men are violent isn't an issue of trust, it's an issue of risk tolerance. This is what I mean where I think it's both sides actually really understand each other. We just have different examples of when we're experiencing this sort of issue of needing to trust the other person. Now granted, both sides of the coin there I feel are heavy generalizations. And if anything, it just encourages this Ouroboros cycle of who should trust the other person first. Because even with my point, you could argue against it with this logic too. Well, I would ask for an STI test every time before he wanted to have smex with me in case he is cheating. And yeah, if you as a person feel like you need to do a paternity test every time your partner gets pregnant, then you should be comfortable with your partner wanting this from you in exchange. After all, it's not about trust, it's about risk tolerance. And like I feel just at the end of the day, it's just entirely up to you to learn to apply a bit of that trust on someone. Okay, yes, it is possible that your partner could cheat on you. It's possible that the child couldn't be yours. But if there's one thing to at least take a note on, gentlemen, is that a lot of the statistics of men who aren't the actual fathers of their children, its data is heavily skewed. The statistics of paternity tests coming out as negative is comparing to the amount of people that actually get paternity tests, not the amount of people who have children. It's the same argument that, oh, well, women are always initiating divorces. Yeah, of course you can argue that women are always the unfaithful ones in a relationship if you're only comparing the couples that are getting divorces and not every other couple out there who is actually happy and in a relationship. I can't be bothered doing a deep dive on the citations of all that. Feel free to believe me or not. Either way, let's move on to the next story. My wife has segregated me from all family group chats, and I've no idea how to move forward. So I've been married for over 10 years, and I have said countless times, including me in the group chat, please, I want to communicate with everyone. This includes her parents, her siblings and spouses, and herself. She told me a couple of years ago that the group chat doesn't exist anymore, but I found it active today while our toddler was playing with Mom's phone. I asked my wife if this was a new group chat. Yes, it was. And why wasn't I in it? She became extremely irritated and defending it, saying, "You don't even like my family," and things of that nature. So screw it. I threw my hands up and said, I guess I'm not family anymore. I told her I'm not cooking dinner tonight, not doing any of the cleaning, not watching our daughter, etc. I am apparently not family. Why act like it? I wouldn't act like this if it was just her side of the family, for all women or whatever, but it's the entire family except for me. How do I move forward from here? What are some potential reasons I'm being segregated from the rest of her family? I come from a very dysfunctional and problematic family, so I blacklisted almost all of my blood relatives, so it hurts to have a potential real family put me in the proverbial corner. I tried posting this on the marriage advice sub, but it wouldn't let me for some reason. Now in edit, I didn't expect this to blow up like it did. I've been away from my computer most of the evening. I'll post a longer update here in an hour or two once I'm home. I do want to clarify that I'm still caring for my daughter. That was an overreaction on my part. Now the actual edit. There are a lot of questions, so I'll try to address some of the more common ones. I'm very much a rough around the edges type of person. I come off pretty harsh, but I mean well. Just a bad part of my personality, I guess. I don't have a very strong relationship with her family because we don't live near any of them, and I was the last one to marry into the family. Also, very few of them have social media presence at all. They just aren't like that. The biggest issue I've had was with her mother. When our daughter was just a few months old, she came and visited us for an extended stay. The only thing I asked of her was to close the doors quietly, as our daughter had some very serious sleeping issues early on. She slammed every door closed each and every time she had the opportunity. I don't think it was really malicious, more that it was her being aloof beyond all comprehension. Finally, one night she did it around 3 a.m. and our daughter woke up screaming. I had been polite with repeated asks up until this point, and finally I snapped and yelled, "Why do you keep slamming the freaking doors?" She moved her flight and left the next day, and didn't speak to me for several months. This interaction is the only evidence my wife has that I don't like her family. Anyway, there are a lot of issues that I could drone on and on about for hours, both parties. I haven't been exactly a picturesque father, but I'm getting better. I could tell you that I didn't grow up with a nice family, so I don't know what normal even looks like, much less trying to be a part of one. Someone mentioned CPTSD, and yes, I've seen counselors over the years regarding this. I also do some mild meditating now and then when emotions start getting out of control. Thanks to everyone for the responses too, both sides of the argument. We can all get better, so I appreciate the feedback. So the update of sorts doesn't really seem like much of an update, just some extra information. So currently, I can kind of understand where this guy's coming from. Not exactly excusing the blow-up of his, this definitely was a bit out of line, but just reading between the lines, it seems like this fella is feeling kind of abandoned by what is essentially the only family he has left. I mean, growing up and what he's implying, it's understandable that he feels kind of, well, yeah, abandoned, even by his wife. the person he married. I mean, you kind of choose to be with that person. You're not just born with that person in your life, you know? It's probably extremely hurtful for him to experience this from her. But what do you think, though? You think they went way too far and they're being overdramatic and kind of just getting what is due to them for losing their temper and insulting his wife's family? Or do you think he's actually got something to stand on? And the wife here is actually being rude. Now, yeah, someone did source this post of theirs from 3 years ago, popping up in r/anger. So I think we now understand where his need to meditate comes from. He was 31 at the time, so yeah, 3 years ago, talking about how he's been to anger management 3 times in their life, and likely about to go again because of their 10-week-old. And seemingly having a rant about their frustration with the repetitive cycle of questioning and criticism that therapy offers them. It's the typical compliment sandwich thing. Offer some sympathy or empathy towards them, but say what you're actually wanting to say the entire time. Though they're missing the other slice of bread where they then compliment them again to try and ease off the pain of being criticized, so bad therapist. Now, someone shared that post of his accusing him of being a man-child who has been contemptuous and unwilling to change, but I don't know, again, I don't want to come across him just defending the man. Doesn't sound like he's refusing to change. It just sounds like he's still struggling with this and ranting about the annoying repetitiveness that some therapy can be. It's like when your partner comes home from the day to rant about work. Like, you don't respond with, well, then why do you still go to the job? Like, you just hear them out. You give them a space to air out their laundry of sorts, you know? I mean, he's literally suffering from anger issues. The last thing you want to do is punish him for having a slight rant, you know? Like, like if you have a habit of doing a bad thing, you're meant to wean off it slowly, not just go straight cold turkey. Now over to this story with its update. I heard my in-laws talking about getting my wife back together with her ex. I'm 35 male, and I have been with Abby, 35 female, for 13 years now. Every day that goes by, I love her more, and we're even expecting our first baby. For the holidays, we always stay 2 to 3 months visiting my wife's family. But the problem is that this year, all the family was really excited, saying that Alan is coming. In all the years in the family, I never heard of an Alan, and my wife didn't even care about it, so I thought it was just some cousin. But the famous Alan was my wife's ex and first love. The man lives in Europe, but Abby's family still have contact with him and even invited the man to the house. Now he's in the country. I tried to get along with Alan, but the man just ignores me and takes every chance to get closer with my wife, making jokes or talking about the past. I didn't take it personally because I don't want to look jealous, but lately he has been coming every day to visit the family, and Abby's started comparing his accomplishments to mine. They're all big fans of Alan, and I honestly feel jealous of that because they're treating him better than me. But 2 days ago, I heard my mother-in-law and brother-in-law talking about how nice it would have been for Abby to stay with Alan because he's a smart man. What hurt me the most was hearing my brother-in-law say that he can try to get Alan and Abby back together, and my mother-in-law just laughed, saying it would be good to go on a trip to Europe every year and not to the countryside with the peasant. Talking about me because I live in a farm with my wife, just because she always dreamed to live in that kind of quiet environment. Now, in fact, now that I'm no longer blindfolded, I'm starting to notice how my brother-in-law makes too many comments to my wife about how great Alan is, although Abby never says kind things about Alan, and I think she even treats him like he's a child. So I don't feel comfortable being here knowing that they see me as a dumb peasant, and it's horrible to see how they try to include Alan in the family when they still treat me like I'm just a casual boyfriend of Abby's, but my wife only sees her family these months of the year, and I don't want to ruin that or put that kind of stress on her since she's pregnant. So obviously, family not a fan. But what's more important, though, is what the wife thinks. Well, my wife just ignores Alan, and when my brother-in-law says those things, Abby just says, well, if you like Alan that much, then frick him. And the conversation ends. When I found out it was her ex, she just said, oh, yeah, I dated him for 2 months when I finished high school, and made a disgusted face. I couldn't ask more because she has been really tired with the pregnancy, and I don't want to stress her more. So yeah, a shocking revelation there. The family would rather Abby get with someone she dated for 2 months than the man she's clearly devoted herself to for 13 years. Opie's theories for this ridiculous preference? From what I heard, he lived in the same neighborhood, but they were never close until Abby started dating him. When he moved to Europe, the family still had contact with him through Facebook and WhatsApp, and even some members of the family stay in his house when they trip to Europe, so it seems the aunts and cousins are really close with him. Now, they always made jokes about our farm life, and I know my mother-in-law hates that Abby has gone to live so far away from them. She always hides her dislike for me, although I can feel the cold treatment she always gives me. My brother-in-laws always made it obvious that they didn't like me for taking their older sister away. The rest of the family treats me well, or just normal, but Alan is really charismatic. Plus, they're all really extroverted people, and I'm more in the quiet side, so I think it's easier for them to like him more. Okay, so it doesn't seem like things are too intense here. It reads that Abby is comfortable with OP. There's no possibility she's gonna run away with Alan. So a few days later, we come back with an update. I found out my wife was cheating on me with Alan. Nah, just kidding. After making the post and reading the comments, I decided to talk with Abby about what I heard. We were in our room, and I talked about what her mother and brother said as calmly as possible, but the moment I finished telling everything, Abby just kissed my forehead and ran with her pregnant belly out of the bedroom to literally yell at everyone in the living room. No one spoke besides an aunt who tried to justify themselves by saying that, oh, they were just making jokes, to which I replied that they were uncomfortable and disgusting jokes. At some point, Abby told her mother something like, whether you like it or not, I'm married to this man. I'm going to have this baby with him and many more. So shut up and bear with it. Then my wife yelled at her brothers and went with them to talk in private. My brother-in-law has now talked with me and admitted that they were only doing that because they believed I was forcing Abby to marry and live in a farm far away from the family, when it was actually Abby's idea to get married in private and live in the farm. So all these years, it has just been a misunderstanding. The three brothers apologized to me and were really embarrassed about their behavior, saying they only invited Alan to mess with me. After that, most of the family members apologized to us. Abby told everyone that she doesn't want to see Alan in the house anymore while we're here. She's not going to forbid them to talk with him, but doesn't want to see him near her because it's uncomfortable. Mother-in-law tried to explain, but Abby just said, "Shut up, Mom," and left the living room with me. Now in the bedroom, Abby confessed to me that she also felt uncomfortable, but since Alan is a friend of the family, she preferred not to say anything other than throw passive-aggressive comments at him. For example, after New Year's, we were all eating, and Alan stroked her belly without asking, to which my wife said, "Do it again and I'll bite you." So he never did that again. Abby even said that in an opportune moment, she actually talked with Alan and told him that she disliked being touched by other people, but Alan said she was overreacting and left her talking alone. I feel really stupid for not noticing how uncomfortable my wife was also feeling, because after that is when she stayed most of the time in the bedroom when Alan was in the house, with the excuse she was tired because of the pregnancy. Now, just out of curiosity, I asked her why she broke up with Alan if he's such a cool man, because I'll admit it, he's really charismatic. And Abby told me that he always treated her like he knew everything and explained things that she already knew every time they talked. Abby never felt the need of talking about that relationship because it wasn't relevant, and she sees me as her first love, not Alan. I apologized to Abby for not noticing how uncomfortable she was and only looking at my own feelings without taking it about as a couple, and Abby also apologized for the same. We promised to communicate this kind of thing to each other no matter what. So yesterday we went on a date together, and when we came back, my mother-in-law looked very unfriendly. But she apologized to my wife, to which Abby said she should apologize to me. So, mother-in-law and I talked for a while alone, and although I'm still upset, we promised to at least be civil with each other for Abby and the baby. We decided to, the next time, stay in one of my hotel rooms while we're here. Even if it's a 3-hour drive, it would be better for us to be comfortable, and 3 months in my in-laws' house was always really tiring, so it's something we should have done earlier. For now, Alan is no longer in the picture because yesterday I got his number to send a message clarifying why he can't come back and why I don't want him near my wife. The man just blocked me without answering, I guess he understood, but if he didn't, I don't have any problem in going to talk about it face to face. And some fun extra information that came out later. Why did Alan return? Well, Alan came back to the country because he divorced his wife and is flirting with any woman the way it can. So it seems he thought it was a great idea to try and flirt with my pregnant wife. Her family sucks ass. Well, true, they were sucking up to Alan quite a lot. Over to another Alan-type personality situation. Am I the a-hole for publicly calling out a friend for sending my fiancé inappropriate messages? This is another two-parter beginning in early January. This is going to be a long one and a throwaway for the obvious reasons. I know the title makes it seem absolutely obvious, but let me explain. My fiancé, Josh, has a close friend group of guys from college we see rather regularly, at least the ones that stayed in our city, including his best friend, Matt. His best friend's wife, Addison, has a friend, Leela, or Lila, one of those, that was integrated into their group before I met my now fiancé. So apparently, Lila has had a crush on my fiancé before I met him, and even tried to get Matt's now wife to set them up. Josh made it clear he wasn't interested, but unfortunately, it seems she never gave up hope that he would come around. So fast forward to Josh and I meeting, really hitting it off, so he wanted to introduce me to his friends. We met up with everyone for drinks one night, and apparently Lila wasn't given a heads up that Josh was in a relationship by Addison because the look on this girl's face when he introduced me was somewhere between pure disgust and shock. Everyone was friendly and welcoming, but she was icy. And Addison was a little quiet at first, but then warmed up. I get it. She was probably trying to be loyal to a BFF that had a crush. I disagree to that. You can still be respectful to someone while also be a shoulder for your friends to pout on. Fast forward about a year, Matt and Addison are getting married, with Josh being the best man, and of course Lila maid of honor. I didn't feel any sort of way because I'm secure in my relationship. He's not interested in her, and he just had to walk down the aisle with her. Matt and Addison even set it up so he could sit with me at the reception, much to Lila's displeasure. Well, at the reception, as she kept coming over and trying to flirt with Josh, saying to not forget that the best man is required to dance with the maid of honor, which is flatly just told her that's not a thing. And so, well, about 2 weeks ago, we got engaged. Yay! There was a group chat I was added into once I had established my own friendships and wasn't just Josh's girlfriend, where people organize pub nights, beach trips, etc. Now, Josh announced our engagement in it a day later, and everyone, other than, you guessed it, Lila, congratulated us. I mean, huge shock, right? Well, now to the issue. We are here on Friday night around 1 to 2 a.m.-ish. Apparently, Lila decided to message Josh privately. The first was something like,
I was just thinking about you.
followed up with a semi-nude photo, then,
You're not married yet.
and a bunch of other inappropriate stuff. He didn't see it until he woke up yesterday morning. We were just chilling in bed, checking emails, etc., and he just says, "What the frick?" Then hands me the phone. Obviously, I was wicked mad, as was he, so he just shot back a message telling her that it was highly inappropriate and disrespectful and not to contact him again. She then attempts to backpedal with excuses. She was drunk, and then, oops, I sent it to the wrong person. Don't tell OP. The last part pushed me over the edge, and I asked him to screenshot it to me. I told him I wouldn't include the photo. I mean, revenge content like that is never okay. But I was going to post it in the group chat because this is the last straw, as long as he was fine with me doing so. So I did, and I said that we were done with this disrespect and would no longer be engaging with someone who would do something like this. It was not the most mature on my part, but I think everyone needed to know. And wow, did the chat light up. Lila pretty much immediately left the chat, but everyone else was so shocked she would do that. Lila went crying to Addison because she said I bullied her, who feels somewhat torn because she wishes that it was handled privately, but she has only escalated any attempts to shut her down. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for putting her on blast by posting her text to my fiancé in the group chat to hold her accountable? I mean, everyone else is disgusted with her, but my fiancé's best friend's wife feels it should have been handled privately. So this is a thoughtful comment. Forget of what she did. How do you feel about your actions? By escalating a private message from her to your husband, you ended up making her intimacy public. You removed the picture, but you still left her message trying to cause an effect. Only you can say whether your intention by posting it was to harm her, help her improve, or move on. But did you do it with empathy and love? Look, I know it sounds way too forgiving, but I get what they're saying about this. Like, it definitely seems like you were just trying to put her on blast and shame her in front of everyone. It's hard to find what you were trying to make her improve in or, be a better person at, but that just begs the other question. Did she deserve that from you? Did you owe that to Lila? I don't think so. As she responds, having no regrets from reading all the compliments supporting her in the comments. Okay, so OP made her intimacy public. I mean, let's be real, she's the one who kind of invaded their privacy herself. Men get shamed when they send unsolicited nudes all the time. Why should Lila get an exception for that equally tardy behavior? Like, it's one thing just to send a random photo, she could possibly defend herself with that, but like the messages too, clearly trying to encourage some sort of deceit and betrayal on the husband or fiance's part. Add to that all the evidential times that the partner has said no to any of her previous advancements or even suggestions at it. Yeah, I agree. This is considered harassment at this point. I think Lila should be thankful they didn't get the police involved. So how did things turn out a few days later? On the fallout, Josh and I are obviously fine, and that was never going to be an issue. He's amazing. We communicate well and don't have secrets. Matt came over to talk to Josh and apologize, though he had nothing to apologize for. He had a long talk with Addison about how he felt it was way out of line to tell me it should have been handled privately. He said he told his wife that Lila is an issue in their relationship as well, because she always invites herself along when they are doing things or going out as a couple. She constantly complains and then always gets too drunk, so she has to spend the night. I guess he has said something in the past, but she always lets Lila steamroll her. He put his foot down and said she needs to set boundaries with her and they need to take time apart. She agreed, but expressed her fear of Lila's reaction. So Addison tried, and apparently that conversation went about as bad as you'd think. Addison decided to do it over a phone call, and Lila lost her mind. She accused me of gaslighting? I'm pretty sure she doesn't actually know what that means. Then she tried to explain what happened again, which went from it was sent to the wrong person, it wasn't even a big deal, Josh has always led her on, and also she thought he wanted it. What? She was so wasted, she doesn't really remember sending it, and finally blaming Addison for not trying hard enough to hook them up. When she finally told Lila that they need time apart so she can focus on her marriage and work, she absolutely lost it. She told her that she can't end a long-term friendship over the phone, so she was going to come over because she owes it to her to say it to her face. She told her no, and Josh told Addison to let Lila know that she wouldn't be let in and the cops would be called. She hung up, and they both blocked her number. This girl is really wicked insane. I had a talk with Addison, and she apologized for trying to smooth things over because she didn't want to deal with the wrath of Lila as she has seen her go off on other people in the past. I forgived her, but I'm going to move slowly with that friendship to see what her actions show. I do feel bad because that was an obvious toxic friendship, which seems like kind of like a trauma bond, but I'm not a psychiatrist. I just never want to get in the way of Josh's friendships, and I know Matt is very important to him. So she's gone, at least for now. But regardless, whether her and Addison eventually reconnect, we are having nothing to do with her ever again. This all actually tightened my friendship with Sarah, who has been the long-term partner of another one of their friends, as she has been a major supporter. We always got along really well. She's come out for girls' nights with my other friends and I too. She was ready to go to war for me. So that's the silver lining out of all this. I hate drama. Honestly, it worries me that this person is shaping young minds for a living because she is obviously not mentally or emotionally well. I love my partner more than I ever knew was possible, but somehow this just made us even more solid. I'm pretty sure we haven't heard the last from her, but she has no power over my life, so that's that. I guess the moral of this is don't be a pushy hoe bag and send unwanted photos and texts. no means no, kids. Yeah, I can't find the extra information about that, but it seems Lila is like a school teacher? Wow. I'd like to say that they must let anyone become a teacher at this point, but let's be real, I think we're kind of in a teacher shortage, so I don't blame them. Hope he's not done though, sharing some fun extra facts she's overheard about the friendship Lila had with everyone. So I know she lies about her age to guys because she thinks being single at 30 is like the most horrific thing. I honestly didn't plan on getting married. It wasn't a big thing for me, but now I can't imagine not marrying my partner. She has to be a deeply unhappy person, putting on a show about how glamorous and amazing her life is. I'm curious if she ever tried to hit on Matt, because I wouldn't put it past her. And this next spiel, honestly, not surprising to learn about Lila. So apparently Addison was the only one she had an individual relationship with. She pretty much cut herself off from everyone. She doesn't seem to have any interest in building female friendships because she's more of a guy's girl, and girls are always jealous of her. I don't know the details, but apparently she was there for Addison during a super messy divorce, and her mom went through a bad depression. I guess, according to Matt, whenever Addison tries to establish any sort of healthy boundaries, she throws that in her face, and Addison backs down. Hopefully this time it will stick. I'm just happy I never have to fake cordial with her ever again. So yeah, as the OP goes on, it makes sense then, and you kind of give a bit more sympathy to Addison in this whole situation. It wasn't just a case of her blindly supporting her friend, she was kind of being blackmailed and guilted over their entire friendship whenever Lila did something that was arguably wrong. This abusive logic of,
I helped you one time when you were sad, now you have to help me forever!
Anyway, friends, we might end today's video there. Thank you as always for watching. Love your face. Drink water or I will slap you gently, but like I'm not gonna leave a mark. Just like I'll wake you up a bit to drink water. Anyway, bye!